Where am I? What's going on?
You are to investigate the cause of the distress signal. Just go to the system, find out what's going on, and try not to blow yourself up.
There's no one around. I don't know what I'm doing. This. What? Don't worry, kids. This is expected. We're going to do something new tonight. So normally I would be role playing from outer space, and I'd be very trying to stay within, the role playing experience, and not chatting with anyone or anything like that. It was just going to be, that. Well, right at the start of my doing my pre-flight checks, OBS had an update. And considering that last week when I did an OBS update previous to that, and actually I think I had a Windows update too, all kinds of things going on, there were technical issues. And I'm not really ready to try to fight through that and what randomly things could appear during something where I'm trying to kind of stay into that zone, so it looks like it's like a one continuous in the moment kind of video, like a role playing one would be. So I've scrambled really quickly, sorry for the lateness, but it gives me a chance to do something that I had been meaning to do for some time now, which is it's has to do with something that's bothered me, what I've seen with people who have played Space Engineers for a very, very long time. When they're looking at something, they will talk about new gamer experience. You can't see my making little bunny ears, air quotes kind of thing. They'll talk about, well, this will be beneficial to new gamer experience. This would be detrimental to new gamer experience. But many of the people that are talking about that haven't had a new gamer experience for some time. Because they've been playing it for a really long time. Myself, I've been playing for 4 years, 3 years, yeah, something like that. I have, the best way to put it is I have over like 7,000 hours in Space Engineers, so I'm not new to the game. So even my perspective is a little bit skewed. But someone I know recently has purchased the game, actually, or they have acquired the game. We won't say who purchased it for them. And it's just like, you know what? I forgot about how much of a extreme learning curve this game can have. And it's one of those things where you start playing the game and it's like, I don't know how to do this, having to go to a YouTube video, scroll through a bunch of videos, having to, like, okay, well, now what? And this, that, and the other. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to do something, one, to address like this perception of a lot of new gamer experience stuff. And then also address some of the things that when you first start Space Engineers, kind of like, not so much a tutorial, but just kind of a walkthrough to kind of get you going so you can make your own path without having to do a whole lot of like digging through a lot of crap. And I'm going to do it all in a stream, because I find that a lot of the stuff that, like, if I was trying to do tutorials and stuff like that, they end up really long. So I'm going to do it live. Anyway, TLDR, here's what we're going to do. So essentially what you're seeing right now is what happens when you first start up the game. Actually, there'll be like some intro video and stuff like that, and you'll come to this. The only difference being is I don't think you'll see this continue game button. It'll be like start game kind of thing. What it will do is you click on that, or you in fact, actually, maybe that button's not even there, but what you do is you get new game. And before we click that, let's look at some of the other options that we have available here. First one, obviously, exit the windows to get out of the game. It's like, I don't know what all this is. Hit escape, essentially. Character. This is, you can actually set up your initial first character. Now, mine's already going to be set up in here, but we'll at least see what it looks like. So you can go here, and then with the available skins you have, you can change the way your character looks. I have a ridiculous amount of skins because I have played the game a lot. There's a few that will come defaultly, but you know, essentially there won't be much here if the first time you're playing it, and you'll have what will look like let's see. Trying to remember what it's even called. I think it's just yeah, proper helmet, and it's probably proper suit, and probably proper gloves, and proper boots. And so this is what your character will start out as. In fact, actually, your character will probably start out. Let's see if I can get it. It'll end up probably like red. So why is it not applying the color? It's like, oh, if you can select the proper helmet, or it just gives you a default one, I guess. Weird. So one of the problems that I do have is that oh, I know why. Yeah, because I didn't have the saturation up. Yeah. So um I think they start out at like something or whatever. So getting back to the colorization of the whole thing, so you can change your whole character's color by adjusting the color slider here. And you know, if you want to be a blue, you can go be a blue, and you get into this like blue area somewhere in here, and you can adjust the value to kind of more blue and the saturation and stuff like that. So essentially you can change the color of your suit and make it more original. As you play the game, you'll get these different like helmets and different suits, you know, so you can change around the way that your character looks. So, but we're going for the new man on campus look. So let's not the prisoner one. I want it's right there, that one. And so we'll go into kind of the reddish character looking. I think it's like right about there ish. So that's about what like a default character looks like. Don't worry, I know how to put everything back for me. All right, so then you have options, which is the game options. Many of this you can access during the game. There's not too much that you can't access out. One of the things that people who have been playing the game for a while have talked about is some of these is like, so a lot of these hints will be on by default. The enable Steam Cloud, most of us, if this is selected, probably turn it off. The beauty is this will, like any blueprints that you make, anything, your progress you make, will be saved to the Steam Cloud. However, what we found is that this has actually caused problems in posting. Once you've created this cool ship and you want to post it to the workshop, this somehow setting has caused issues. It may be fixed. I haven't personally tested it, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other people that have decided not to test it too, because just leave it off. Mod.io consent. One of the things that they did in the newer versions of this game is make it so that you can actually blueprint. You can save your blueprints and things that you make, not just to the Steam Workshop, but to Mod.io as well. And you can reset the hints, which all this does is it makes it so all the hints are going to be that you see are going to be like, I've never done this before. So, and we have it all on experimental mode. This is one that a lot of people will turn on right away because it allows certain things that we'll go into later. It's not needed, but it's recommended to turn it on. It does, however, make things get a little wonky when you're starting to do some really elaborate stuff. And like I said, we'll get into that area. Enable. So a lot of these, like I said, are going to be default UI stuff. This is something that a lot of people like to change, is to show crosshairs visible with HUD. Well, in other words, when you get into a cockpit of some sort, you'll get a crosshair that you can use for aiming. You can turn that so that it doesn't show up at all. And some people who do streaming and videos and stuff like that like to turn it off so they get that better cinematic view and it's not in the way. Other people like it on, so that they can target blocks easier. So they'll put it in always visible with HUD. I tend to go with the visible with HUD versus the always hidden, because when I want it, and when I don't, I don't. Iron sight switch state. I tend to go with toggle and hold. This has to do with when you're holding a gun, whether or not you, when you enable a gun, it puts you right into the iron sights automatically, or it holds the gun off to the side and you have to toggle it in to look at it. Select hit type is generally enemy. Friendly is as if you're doing something else like a PvP kind of tournament or something like that. Headshots are where, these ones I haven't really messed with too much. So this, I think, gives you the color type of, so if an enemy is going to be this color, friendly will be green, headshot will be this color, kill will be red, so, and grid will be this. So when your crosshairs, they'll show a different color depending on what you're aiming at and what you're hitting. I think this has more to do with what you're hitting. If you're getting a headshot, you're going to get this color. If you're hitting a friendly, it'll show green. And if you're hitting an enemy, it'll just be like this white color. And if you're hitting a grid, it'll be blue. So you have a sense of when you're hitting something, when you're shooting, have an idea of the quality of that shot. And you can change the colors and stuff like that. You have some of the UIs scale and the HUD background. This is one that's nice to change. I think you might be able to see it here. Maybe not. This changes, so when you're in a menu or something like that, it will show, or more of the point is when you have the HUD up, it'll show how transparent it is. So the higher this is, the less transparent, the least it is, the least transparent. So some general stuff, settings there, and then you have display, which is going to be your graphics displays, vertical async capture mouse, these kind of things. Particularly, you want to turn this on if you're not doing full screen. Graphics, a lot of settings here, not going to go through them all. Probably one of those things, when you highlight over these, you'll notice that it'll give you kind of a quick explanation of what those are. Audio, pretty simple. Music volume, sound volume. You notice I have the music down a little bit. I have the sound a little bit up. Enable voice chat volume, push to talk, all the kind of usual stuff. Those are always preset, except for the fact that with the audio stuff, I tend this is not default. I think it runs 50% on each by default. It may be full, but controls, these are just your mouse controls and stuff like that. One of the things is if you use a controller, which you can do, you can change this. Is it there? I think it's here. If you have a controller plugged in, like a gaming controller to your PC, or if you're playing on PC, you can go in here and you can actually make changes to how your controller works. This will actually, so I don't have one plugged in, so it says disabled, but if I plugged one in, I'd have one here and I could change the controller theme for it. So for your keyboard, here's like the movement keys if you want to change the around the way the keyboard works. I tend to use standard. System interactions, the same thing. So much as like if you can't figure out what key does what, this is, you know, where you go to figure that out. Block placement, toolbars, view, the different views that you have available. Player control F6. This is kind of a good key to know, because if you do something like, or you have something like a cat walk across your keyboard and all of a sudden you'll have no idea what you're looking at, it's always best to just hit the F6 key, because you're probably in either the delta spectator, the free spectator, or the static spectator, one of those three keys. V's changes your first and third person views. Alt to look around. F4 is your screenshot. HUD. This is, it says HUD on and off, but you actually have three settings here. Signal mode, this is the turn the signals on and off, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit. And then you use your number lock to, you know, different ones to change entities and camera modes. This is more for, I think, when you're using when you're doing kind of like there's ability to do video editing and stuff like that, which I won't go into now. There's separate videos out there, and I might do one too, but that's highly unlikely until there's certain aspects of it that's kind of bugging, and if they don't fix it, I'm not gonna mess around with it. So that's controls, and then the credits are obviously to show the credits. Okay, so like I said, you're gonna, for a first person that's joining, so I'll continue through this menu real quick. Join game, this is to go to any of the Space Engineer servers out there. Anything that shows locked means that there's some kind of like password protection or something like that. Any of these open world ones, you know, you'll see these exclamation points. It says it's an experimental mode, and you'll notice almost all of them are experimental mode. That's the case. These worlds here, if you notice that are at the top, these are Keen servers. So going to those, they're very busy. If you notice, the player counts on them are fairly high, but it's great if you want to, if you're the kind of person that wants to kind of play online, meet new people, and get advice from other people. This is a great place to go. As you can see regions, EU, UK, NA. Not sure what that is. I just think it's just not specific. CI, I believe, actually is California and not like Calcutta or something like that. But the lock ones are locked. You have to kind of, there's usually a password or something like that. You can join these other ones and just it's kind of, you get what you get. Games, these are the ones where they've kind of players have set up a special kind of game mode for it. Usually they're gonna play something like one of the game matches. We'll get into that. Favorites is ones that you've been to and you favorited. History is ones that you've been to before. Local area network is generally ones you have, and then friends is obviously the ones your friends have started. And you can direct connect to one if you have the IP and port number for it. So that's that. But what we're going to get into is new game. So as a new player, you can customize your character, set up your options. You can't load a game because you haven't started one yet. So what you're going to do is new game, and it'll either force you. So one of the things, like I said, is the new gamers, the not new gamers, but the people who have played Space Engineers for a really long time, they talk about new gamer experience. So the new gamer experience isn't what they usually do when they start. It's usually the game forces you into this learning to survive, which is highly recommended first thing to do. And what that does is this is a training like that, and the first jump, these are training videos to learn how to play the game. Let's see. I think I'm gonna start the first jump, and I want to see if this is the one that default starts or if it's the other one, because I don't remember. I have no prep on this, by the way, so. So a little bit of animation. Oh, okay. All right, so this is not the one that it starts with. That's what I thought. This is has a little bit of so this is will give you some walkthrough. So exit the cryo chamber by pressing F. And you'll see that you're in a kind of third person mode, and you can select V to put you in first person mode, depending on how you like to play. And it says use the WSAD keys to move, and if you're a gamer, you know exactly how these keys work. So you can dance, move forward, move backward, yada yada yada. And then it's kind of pointing you to this. And notice when you see highlighted stuff like this, that means it's an actionable item, and you can press F and you can do something to it. And that's what it's kind of giving you instructions. Follow the GPS marker to help with navigation. So you'll see this like where it says bridge and it says 25.8 meters. That's the GPS marker that they're referring to. So we're going to go through this door. Some stuff. Another door. And we've made it to the GPS marker. And we're approaching a destination. Now, if you look at the bottom left, you'll see there's a little chat box that's showing us information. It says time, the bridge for briefing, docking in progress. Now I didn't read it all, so I hit enter, and now I can see the station is responding communication. Engineer prepared to disembark and commence station investigation. And so we can just hit enter and go back out of that. So it says go to the airlock located on lower deck. Press F to open and close doors. So we'll probably want to, since we're dealing with an airlock, we'll want to shut doors. We gotta find said airlock, which is listed in the GPS. So it's right about here. So it's right below us. So we need to actually find some kind of stairway. There we go. Airlock. It's good that they put a really big sign there for us. And yes, opening closing doors will get really annoying after a while. So here we are at the airlock. Remember to breathe oxygen. So we're going to press the J button. I don't know if they're actually telling us to do that, The J button is what opens and closes our helmet, and you can see that in the bottom left corner. So you see how it's open, it's closed and lit. Use the starboard button panel to dispense new oxygen bottle. So this is our left. I guess if they're saying this way, blue panel. And go here, dispense oxygen bottle. Press that button. Oxygen bottle. Pick that up. So all I'm doing is hitting the F button to these actions. So to click that button over here, I hit F. To pick up that bottle, I hit F. So your finger will just always kind of sit naturally over the F key for a while. Open hangar doors with the port button panel. Well, depending on which direction we're facing, I guess this is port. So open airlock. And you can see that it's giving you text at the bottom. It says press F to use trigger now. K to end it. So if I hit K, it's not going to do anything because I don't have permissions to this. I'll press that button. Proceed with caution. Falling off of the station will result in negative engineer performance reports. The station is reporting heavy damage to systems. So it sounds like we're going to do a little bit of repair work here. So we're going to head over to the station airlock. Close the door. And so now, actually, let's see if I can do this before it gets really angry. I'm outside. If you look dead center all the way at the bottom, you notice there'll be an O2 none and a temperature thing freeze, and they're both red. That's because there's no oxygen in this because we're in outer space and it's freezing. Now I go back into this space and I close this door, and there's these vents up here. Notice that they blow air in and they turn green. Now we see that the O2 is set to high and then the temperature is now warm, which means we're in a good condition. We can open up our helmet if we want. So use the button panel to cycle the airlock. Let's close this just in case, and we'll press this button. This will open the door, and inside the base is showing low O2. So essentially right now, these air vents are trying to fill the space. Get to the command center by following the GPS waypoints. Okay, so we see the 2 command centers up there. So I need to get up there. Now I'm going to pretend like I don't know what I'm doing, and we're just going to walk around. Let's see these cargo containers. Walk over here. This looks like some stairs. Hey, look, there was a green arrow that shows up. That might have been a handy tool. So we're going to follow these up. And a door. C for crouch. We hit C and then we crouch through this half open door. Ooh, handy. Caution. Open this door. Flood this space, and now let's actually close that door. So look like we got some broken parts here up in this roof and stuff. Investigate the nearby button panel to attempt closing the ceiling blast doors. Okay. Seal and pressurize. Blast doors closing. Prepare for pressurization. I'm preparing. I'm preparing. There's a vent there. And I have a little screen giving us this Room pressurization. Oh, that's not good. Dead guy. Dead guy. Says pressurization in progress. Stand by. Well, it's done. He says it's done. What do you want more? What more do you want from me? Bet you I need to open that door back up. Oh, I know. We gotta go towards the command center. Oh boy. So we gotta find a place to charge up our stuff. And I do remember recharge energy at medical bay. Hold F. So this is one of the things. Okay, it is highlighting it. I was gonna say one of the things that's really irritating me here is they're not. So pick up highlighted items. So we pick up the highlighted items. Go to the medical bay. Go here. Hold F. Okay, so now our suit gets charged. Way faster than it actually should. Approach the door and hold left mouse button to start welding. Same going here, and then with the welder in hand, which you'll notice I have a welder in my hand, and because it's already populated into one slot, I push this button and it starts welding the door and it repairs it. Ooh. Continue to the command center located nearby. Oh, look, we get to watch somebody get blown the hell up. Original mission terminated. Continually. Okay, so we're in the command center and it's saying we need the quickest route to escape pods. We need to get the hell out of here. Well, I don't know where the hell to go. Oh, escape pods. There we go. That's access denied. Everything's dying and falling apart. Escape pods. Okay, here we go. Escape pods. Okay, where are they? Oh, I gotta jump over to them. This is BS. Continuing towards the GPS marker. What do you think I'm doing? Okay, enter the seat to evacuate the station. I'm in the seat. Oh, that's a fun little escape pod. That's fun. So I'm going to stop this one here. Because this is just a series of you can't save. Yes. So the other one, and the one that I recommend, actually I don't want that. I'm so habitually to load game. New game is Learning to Survive. This is literally the thing that if you're a new person, you've never played Space Engineers before, and you don't want to like dig through a lot of like going online and learning how to do stuff. This is the scenario that I recommend. I think it actually boots you right into it when you start fresh. The only way I could check is I'd have to scrap my entire install of Space Engineers, which I'm not going to do. Yes, this is the one. So one of the things that so this is going to like do much like was in the other scenario, which is literally going to teach you through the series of flags and instructions on how to play the game. You can enable these tips and the in-game options. Yes, I'm aware. So there's a task for mining, and so this basically explains to you what Goodbot is. It tells you can hit F1 for tutorials, which if you want to know how to do anything, you hit F1. You can go here and you can select open in browser, and it'll take you to a YouTube video on how to do it. You hit escape to get out, and you can hit that or hit escape to get out, and it'll literally walk you through all of the stuff. Tells you to choose how to switch your views. Use the alt mouse wheel to adjust the distance of your third person view. So if you're in this view and you scroll up and you hit alt key and then scroll in and out, you can scroll and you move the mouse around and you can change your view. So I can move forward and back and see myself dance. I'm dancing. And then feed it back. So one of the things is that this will, what it's talking about is if there's objects in your way. So if I'm standing here, I hit V and I see that. So if I switch over to here, actually down here, yeah. It's back into the first person view because the camera view is essentially in the ground. So like if I was here and I went like this, it'll go into my regular view, and if I go back like this, it goes back into third person view. One of the things to note about this that I don't really cover is like, so here's my third person view. I'm gonna put it over here and scroll way out, and it says like, okay, so I go back to first person, back to third, back to the original setting. So you can't, if you go here, it'll always revert back. Much like if I'm in this view and I tilt my head sideways, which is I hit the alt key and turn my head versus like normally. This is usually when you're sitting in a seat, but I don't have any seat to show. But if you get into like in your ship and you turn your head and something like that, and you want to, you go to third and then back, and it'll recenter that view as well. It's okay. I hadn't hit all of the keys yet. So if I'm walking forward and I want to sprint and not like fall off, you hit shift walk and then you're running. And then space to jump. And then C to crouch, which we already covered. And so what this scenario will do, and I'm not going to go through the entire thing because it's exhausting. It will walk you through how to do everything, all the basic things like how to repair something, how to build something, how to mine, how to, use the different tools, how to build things. So when you first start playing Space Engineers, I highly, highly recommend going through the scenario most of the way. You might not get, because there's a bit at the end where it's like when you're basically trying to, there's a combat mission at the end where it's highly recommended that you build drones and you send them to the planet while you're in space and try to take out a target base, which is fun. And if you can get it done, it's like you get an extra achievement in Steam, so really worth it. Worth giving it a shot. And actually, there's videos out there of people speedrun this and the other thing that I started. These are two great things to start out in your basic kind of learning curve of Space Engineers. Each of them will take a few hours, and depending on skill level and how much time you want to spend into it. So I'm going to exit out of here. Yeah, save changes. Sure, because I actually want to go back to that at some point. So now we have a save point. And then if you go to load games, you'll see it right here. There's the learning to survive and the first jumps. Those are the saves that you would see. And those are how you get back to where you originally started. But the next thing we're going to talk about is where all of the experienced gamers tend to point you to. And so we're going to go back to, actually not load game, new game. So here's, now there are other scenarios you can play. Never Surrender is a, essentially you get hit with barrages of drones. And the longer you can hold out, the better your rep is. And you get different Steam awards for how far you can get. Lost Colony, great scenario. I highly recommend it. Frostbite, another good one. Sparks of the Future is just really kind of more of a, hey, check out all these new kind of things that we've added to Space Engineers through DLC. Uranium Heist is meant to be more of, if you're doing player versus player with your friends, it's a capture the flag kind of a scenario. It's not really meant for like single player. So if you want to do something with your friends and you want to do a kind of capture the flag kind of thing, this is your jam. Same with Scrap Race. Scrap Race is more of like you start it and you get a bunch of friends and you select vehicles and you modify vehicles and then you race them in a desert planet. Again, a lot of fun, but these last two are more meant for multiplayer, where the rest of these work well with single player. Workshop. You'll notice that I have stuff on my workshop because I've downloaded some stuff. This will generally be empty if you don't have anything. These are just scenarios you can download off the workshop. Custom game. This is where I say a lot of people, experienced gamers of Space Engineers, send you to. These are different survival starts. You can actually do them in creative mode, but this is where a lot of people start. So scenarios is where you learn how to play the game and you can do different things, and you can get a lot of gameplay out of this. A lot. I'm talking like 20 plus 30 plus hours worth of gameplay, if not more. But when you go online, everybody shows you these, which are kind of survival start custom games. And there's different levels of difficulty to each, like Alien Planet. This one gives you like a big base to start with. Asteroid Armor, but it's on an alien planet, so you might not have oxygen. You have to deal with that asteroid, but you have gravity. In fact, actually, I think the gravity is like 1.1, so it's a little heavier than normal. Asteroid Armory. This is in space. This, you start with a bunch of ships and stuff like that, but you're in 0G with no oxygen. So that's fun. That's a fairly new one that they've added. In fact, actually, Crashed Red Ship. This is an antique that's been revamped. This was part of the original like Space Engineers from a long time ago. A lot of fun. It's basically you start out your survival mode on a crashed red ship, exactly what it says, and you have to kind of figure out from the parts you have available and how to start, and how to kind of get where you need to go. Dead Drop Arena is kind of the same boat. You start on an asteroid in an area, and you have in a certain amount of things. Earth Planet is basically the same as Alien Planet, except you're on Earth, so you don't have to deal with an oxygen problem. Empty World. This is only to be used if you're going to start out in creative, and you know it as creative, either as a creative mode start or if you're going to build your own custom thing. This is like, so it's highly not, you can't do survival in this. People have tried to figure it out. It's actually like the big kind of like ultimate Space Engineers channel challenges. can you start in empty world? It's not recommended. It's usually what you do when it's where you start when you want to put in your own world and you want to do your own kind of build your own scenario kind of thing. Green Station, similar to the Asteroid Army and the Red Ship one, where it's just a station on an asteroid and you get certain resources and stuff like that, and you can start from there. Lone Survivor, same. Mars Planet, Moon Base, Pertam Orbiter. These are all kind of like starts that give you a certain amount of resources to begin with. Rival platforms. You notice it starts in like creative mode versus some of these other ones. But all of these are just fun, interesting things to try. What almost every new every SE gamer does when they start a new survival thing is they go to survival system. So when we talk about new player experiences, I'm saying that there's a lot of a few of the experienced gamers who don't realize it's not an innate thing unless they go online and watch some videos for a brand new Space Engineers gamer to start this up. Go to new game, go to the last tab, go to the last option in that last tab to start a survival series, a survival game. This is like the last bit of it, but this is where we're gonna start, and so we'll call this learning to SE survival. We are not going to change anything right away. We're going to leave everything the same. No mods, no advanced changes, nothing. And we're going to click start. We're just changing the name so that way we know what it's called when we go to look for it later. And we're just going to start. And that's it. We're not going to put any mods, nothing. We're going to brand new. Never done this before. Now, what it's going to do is we have to figure out where we want to start. We can start on the moon, Earth, Mars, Titan, alien, yada, yada, yada. Spacesuit. Don't ever do this. It's a horrible idea. This just basically starts you in space with a spacesuit. You have nothing. The general way to start is Earth. And you can see up here, it will tell you the difficulty. Easy, hard, normal, hard, easy, hard. Now I find that Triton being easy is a little, it's a cold planet. It's an so it's like starting on Hoth. Yes, the air is breathable, so you don't have to worry about that. And there is gravity, and there's materials, but it is freezing, and you'll like have to recharge your suit a lot. Earth is definitely the easiest mode, so we're gonna go super easy mode. Refreshing right now won't do anything. So we're gonna Earth-like faction selection. That's not gonna do anything. There's no factions, and so what we're just gonna do is hit respawn now. Press shift escape to enable spectator mode. We can do that. That doesn't work here. Shift escape. Oops. Shift escape doesn't give us anything. It just says after remaining spectator mode and respawn screen, there's no way back. So here, just continue. No, let's not worry about that right now. Let's just spawn. So we spawn. And here we are, falling in the very well known escape pod, drop pod. Here we are, and we're falling, and then our parachute comes in. And this is the thing that like where I agree with certain people when I talk about new gamer experience. However, a new gamer shouldn't be coming to this, never played the game before, never done anything, and be at this point where it lands, it hits, and stuff breaks. The worst is when it lands, stuff breaks, and you flip over. So we're in it. We hit V. This is one of the things I was talking about. So V resets it. V, if we're in here, if I hit Alt and turn, and then Alt and turn, you know, and stuff like that, we can get stuck, and then we hit the back, and then we go back. So there's that. So we hit the F key, I think it is, to get out, and this will happen a lot. So it's like if I'm in this mode and it says F to leave passenger seat, K to hit control panel. Let's hit K, and so we can see all the stuff. One of the things that I do whenever I start is I never trust what's in the menu. Why? Because I personally change the menus. What I do is hit that little eyeball, show me everything, and we'll notice, hey, there's 4 atmospheric thrusters that were hidden before. We have an antenna, a battery, a beacon, some lights. There's actually a hydrogen thruster, some interior lights, a landing gear, and that's one of the things that broke, and we can tell because it's incomplete. And some other, so we didn't even see any of the landing gear here. Now we see that we have 4 of them. Actually, we do see one landing gear, but we come to find out there's actually 4 landing gears. And O2 H2gen, parachute hat, passenger seat, which we're sitting in, and a timer block for some crazy reason. There's no action set up on it. I don't even know why it's in there except for the parts. So that's what we have. We hit I, which is our inventory, and we notice that we have a gun, some ammo, and a data pad. And in the data pad, you right click to read. It shows us there's a station. Create GPS marker. Okay. That marker will go away if we don't hit K and go to GPS. There's other ways to get there. Go to this and either click show on HUD or double click it, which hits show on HUD. And that's the quick way to turn on stuff in your GPS menu, is to just double click it. All right, so now we have that. So we kind of have something to go. I am going to hit F to get out of the seat. So now I'm on the ground. As you can see, now I'm a third person. I am going to hit escape, and I'm going to go to options, and I'm going to go to game, and I'm going to turn off the good bot, because that's just going to get annoying to me after a while. It's good to leave it on until the point where it starts to annoy you, and then you can shut it off. It's like I said, it's a helpful thing if you're new. And then we're gonna escape out of that. You're supposed to be off. I got it. Set A, space to go up, C to go down. Wasson and yeah. All right. Now will you go away? No. Because I reset it, it's gonna keep going. I got a feeling. Oh, I know why. Because I escaped and not hit OK. That's why. I have a tendency to hit escape a lot. Okay, so like I said, new gameplay. Now that we're out of the seat, we're not. So when we're in the seat, we get the inventory of the seat here because of the little helmet jobby. We hit the block. Now we get the inventory of everything that's associated in the ship. So we notice we got some ice, we got a hydrogen bottle, and we got an oxygen bottle. The oxygen bottle we don't need because we're on an Earth planet and we got air. So we can actually open up our helmet. We're going to grab this hydrogen bottle so when we're flying around we don't run out of jetpack fuel. That's what's fuel in our jetpack. All right, so now what? Well, I'm going to pick up the scrap. Take this welder and fix this stuff. And you notice that the welder is really, really loud. And that's damaged. Oh well. So one of the first things we're going to do is go, this is really loud. Now you can go into the options, audio, sound volume, and turn this down. And oops, I didn't hit OK. Game audio. You can turn this down, hit OK, and then go out, and then it's not so bad. Problem is that you're not going to hear anything else very well either, like opening doors and stuff like that. So one of the first mods, particularly that I install when it is by Splitsy, is the Sneaky Sounds mod. We don't really need it right now, but it's something that we can look into later if we get into the situation where we're installing mods. But we're good for where we're at right now. So we're on this planet. We have a damaged ship, drop pod, and it's a drop pod that's not really going to get us anywhere. So you ask, as a new player, what do I do? Well, you're going to have to find stuff. So I'm going to jump back in the seat, and we're going to go over to this ore detector. I'm going to make sure it's on. Go to this and make sure it's broadcasting. That's cool. And then this antenna, and we're going to make sure that's broadcasting. I'm going to say it about not 3. So I'm going to show this cancel. I can move this, or I can hit control. So I'm holding down the control key, click it, and then I got the option to enter in a value. So I'm going to set this to 300. Okay. So now that antenna is going to be viewable up to 300. So if I back up like this, right about, well, you're seeing the respawn pod. If I turn this GPS off, you won't see it. And until I get about there, and now I can see the antenna. Now with the drop pod, it's a very special entity. It's associated with you, and so wherever the drop pod is, the GPS will show up for it. So you don't necessarily need to turn the antenna on to view it. Let's see, GPS. We'll leave it on. So what we need to do is find material, and we need to repair the ship, and we have to make it so that we can actually go somewhere. But where? This is the thing with survivalists, is like, okay, now what? And well, I say is like, you have to kind of pick your own adventure. It's much like anything with when I use the Minecraft analogy. Yeah, the first hour of Minecraft is just getting yourself to a point where you can survive the next, the night and the next day and stuff like that. Beyond that, that's, it's pretty easy. And with Space Engineers, this one will get you pretty far. The only problem is that eventually this battery over here is going to run out, and so you're going to run out of suit energy, and you're going to run out of ice. So I guess the first thing we need to do is find ice and build a power generation process. So we kind of need a base. So we could build a base right here, or we could go find ice and build a base near there. And I am always lenient towards this latter, which is go find ice and then build a base there. So that's generally how I do it. So if you notice, of all of the things that we have in the list of stuff in here, the biggest thing is the survival kit. The survival kit is what gives us production. And the production on a survival kit is based around the idea that if you drill, and I'll walk through this real quickly. I have drill, select 3 for drill. I crouch down. Don't try to like drill in the air. You're not going to get anything. Crouch down, and then left click, and then rocks appear, and then you can press F to pick them up. Now, if just drilling, having rocks appear and then hitting F is annoying. So what us people who have done this a while do is we go to our crouch position, we click left on our button, and we press and hold the F button, and that just basically picks up any rocks that show up, and it will miss a few, and then if you walk around a little bit you can get more rocks. So even though I'm holding F, so I'm gonna drill, I'm gonna stop, and notice there's still some rocks there. Hit the F back down, look around. So the thing about hand mining is what we call this, is it's very slow, very, very slow, excruciatingly slow. It's even slower when we're doing it at the surface, what we get, where you're getting what we call dirt rock, which is when you're drilling into something, into the surface, which is the rock quantity is not very dense, and so you don't get very much. If you get down lower where you're getting actual rock stone, then they will appear much quicker. So we put this stuff that we put in here. Actually, I want to take that scrap. The scrap will be something that we'll use later. I'm also going to put this there. So now we put a stone in here into their survival kit. Now it doesn't do nothing. That's unfortunate. So the way that survival kits work is that they don't refine so much as they manufacture. And what they do is they manufacture these ingots, and then the manufacture of those ingots makes stuff. So what we do is we select one and it makes some stuff. We hold down the control key, which selects 10, and it makes some stuff. We hold down the shift key and select it. Now we get 100 of those things, and it makes some stuff. But I'm not going to sit here and try to spam this all the time. So if we hit control and shift at the same time and select it, now we get 1,000. And so that's how you key up the ability to make a whole bunch of stuff. So now we get to do drilly, as we call in the industry, diggy hole. Diggy hole. And we're just going to basically keep drilling down. You notice it's getting really, really dark. But it's not dark outside. And it's because we're in a hole. So what we want to do is we want some lights. Our suit comes magically with lights. If you notice in the bottom left, there's a little, looks like a flashlight with the L key over it. We hit L, lights come on. You also notice the O key. That's for the antenna on this suit. Now, if this works like I think it will, if you see if I point our crosshairs at the antenna, I hit the O key. Yeah, that's what I thought. It wouldn't go out because we're still in the range. But that's our ability for our suit to connect to other antennas. Actually, that's probably a better way to show it. If I do K and I do remote access, we'll see our respawn, and then we'll see the terminal, and we can actually log in because we're close to the antenna. We can actually make changes to that. We can actually control that through our suit. Now, if we hit O, we hit K, and we go to remote access, that terminal's not, because our suit antenna is turned off. We can still see the antenna, but we can't connect to it because our suit is off. So that's back to the hole. And you'll also notice that we make little footprints as we walk back and forth. Someone in the game development thought that would be a cool thing. And it's kind of cool. I don't know how much CPU costs it is for that little aspect, but you know, it is what it is. So inventory is full. Okay. And so you get that little inventory full notification once you fill it in. So now we can go in and we can throw more rock in this thing, and it'll keep processing it. But I'm lazy and I like to do things the fast way. If we hold down the Alt key and we select the middle mouse key, it will throw that stuff in there already. So you notice we don't have any rocks. So I don't have to keep going in and out of that stupid menu and moving stuff over because I'm lazy. So drill some rocks. come out of a hole, come up to this, hit the Alt key, middle click, deposited, done. Now I can keep running back and forth. All right, so now that we're making all of this material, what are we making it all for? So we need a reason, a point of our existence. There are two ways that we can go about. Oh, we can go into unknown signals, and it's really close, so we can walk there. So when you're playing survival, defaultly, at which we have not changed any settings. We have not added any mods. We are completely 100% default right now. We get these unknown signals, and remember earlier when I was showing you all those little like cool suit things that I had? We can go here. All right, that's taking too long, and I'm lazy. And we go to this. Is this gonna take off on me? No, cool. Yeah, it is. And we select this button, press the button, and then we get stuff. We got a Badger rifle. So now it doesn't mean that we have a Badger rifle in our inventory. It means that we have the Badger skin available to us. But what I also have here is a lot of free stuff. We got in here some metal plates, but we also have the ability to grind this thing down for parts. And with this crappy ass grinder, this might take a bit. Now, this is early game, so one of the things is that thruster is a little bit nerfed so that this thing doesn't like fly away on you automatically, which it will later. That thruster, you'll go close and you'll be like, yay, I got free stuff. And then that thruster will kick off, and then this thing will, whoa, or just fly out of this thing. So note that we don't have, we ran out of room, but we haven't ground down all the stuff. So we should probably make a GPS marker so we can come back to it. There's two ways to do that. We can either do K GPS, new from current position, and then give it a name. So new from current position, unknown signal. But that's a lot of steps. What we can do is hit enter / GPS. That's GPS, not GSP. And stuff. And they'll both appear. And so I'll remove that one. And we'll see that we still have the stuff GPS point. And we have that. So we can go back over here. And we can go over to our survival kit, and we can do that alt center click, dump some of the stuff. And notice not all of them went in, is because not all of them can go into that. Much like these, anything that the survival kit doesn't make can't go into it. Also, it can run out of space. So I'm just gonna put the rest of this stuff in here. Okay, and then we're gonna go back to our stuff GPS point. And we're gonna hold our F key to pick up any other loose items, which seem to have been gone away, and that is because of a thing called garbage cleanup. Once you get within 50 meters away from something that is stationary, it doesn't have a battery, and has less than, I think, 50 parts. And the way we can see that is if we hold down Alt and hit F10, we get what's called the admin screen. And these are things that you can do as an admin if you're playing in a multiplayer. In survival is how you cheat your way through. To change settings from an admin standpoint in the game. One of the things that I'm showing you here is that you have this trash removal, and it's currently active. And what you can see in here is that it's ignoring fixed stations, but it will look at anything that's stationary or anything that's linearly moving, i.e. that's getting tossed, it's traveling through space. It's accelerating, But if it ignores anything that's powered, controlled, has production, or is a respawn point, and once it has less than 20 blocks and is more than 500 meters away from the player. So this thing has more than 20 blocks. So info, in fact, it actually has 52 blocks. So it stayed around. But the other stuff that was sitting on the ground around it, that was like less than 20. So it got cleaned up as soon as I went away from it. It's also supposed to not do it until I get more than 500 meters, and this is only like 300 meters. But one of the things is it's really aggressive about loose components versus actual grids. This is a grid. A collection of parts that are put together into something is a grid. The definition is very important. So just this part sitting on the ground is still a grid. It's a single component, it's a single item grid, but it's still a grid. Now, what's not a grid is if I throw this on the ground. That's not a grid. That's a component. That would get cleaned up. This is a grid. I have to either make it or grind it. So, one of the things you'll also run into, and I'll show it right here. So you have this thing, this grid that's on the ground, and we're grinding it, and you can't hit this spot. So what I do is crouch down, run my grinder, and then inch forward to it. And you have to kind of move it back and forth. And part of that, particularly, and this trips up even some of the most experienced players, is that the area of the effect of the grinder is and all the tools really is dependent on the level of the tool. These are basic tools, so the area of effect of the tool is very, very small. This is why the grinder is in it also, that it's also slow as I'll get out to do things. This is why the grinder is really slow, the drill is really slow, the welder is really slow. They're just slow because they're the base levels, but also their area of effect is different. So you have to be much closer to the part to grind it. And with the drill, you have to be very crouched down and very up on top of something for it to drill. Same with the welder. Okay, so we got a bunch of parts. Yay, parts. So one of the things that I was saying is to go out and explore for different things. We have two different options, and those options are we can fly or we can drive. That means we need to convert this into something that can fly or drive. Now I tend to go towards the fly version because I can do that without having to build a facility to make parts. Because there are certain parts that you need, i.e. the large steel tube and small steel tube, that you need to make wheels. And it requires a temporary base, and that gets on the whole thing. It's easier to fly because most of the parts that we need are already here. And what you see me do when I'm doing like a speed run is that I will first grind off this part. This is not only getting me access to the back of the let's get in the chair, we're losing energy. This gets me access to the back of the escape pod, but it also helps me deal with something that we haven't touched on yet, which is called progression. So And sometimes when you exit the seat, it puts you on top of the rover, not in front of the rover. It's very weird. All right, so if I take out my welder and I point it at this, I can weld it. If I take out my welder and point it at this, I can weld it. If I take out my welder and point at this, I can weld that. I can weld that. I cannot weld. Well, it shows that I can weld that, but unknown technology. You have to research it first. So that's a problem. So what we have to do in that progression is this here, the progression tab, which trips up even some of the more experienced players because they go in and they go into the options and they turn progression off. So when they talk about new player experience, a lot of them don't know because they've turned this off, this progression method. And when they go and do something like a speed run where you're supposed to do it vanilla, they kind of forget what the order of things are and they have to practice. So this is already kind of dying in a fire. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the seat. And I was just going to, let me do that. Actually, get on the seat. I'm going to point at the seat so it's highlighted, but I'm going to hit I instead. So now I'm accessing the inventory of that seat and I'm going to take that stuff out. And I'm going to grind this a little bit, 93. And it says unknown technology. I have to research stuff first. So that's important. So I'm going to go over here. I can weld these. Actually, I can. What is the first thing I have to do? So let's look at that and figure out what it is. Progression. So landing gear is a base thing. So why did it tell me that? I must have been pointed at something else. Oh, I need construction components. That's what it said. Okay, that's fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of this anyway. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this seat, even though I don't know how to make it yet. And I'm going to get rid of this landing gear. But I'm going to go over this landing gear and I'm going to repair it. And when I repair this, it will tell me that I have unlocked new blocks. And we can see that in the progression menu here, where it shows this. And one of the things that it shows that I'm able to do now that I've unlocked the landing gear is make a cockpit. So I am going to put a cockpit in here. But before I do that, I am going to rearrange some of the stuff. And to rearrange this stuff, I'm going to take this out even though I don't know how to make it yet. And I dropped some steel plate on the ground, but that's fine. I can just throw the excess in here. Making sure I don't go too far away because that's a component and that component will disappear if I get too far away. I don't need this timer block. I don't need a beacon because the fact is that actually I'm not going to be able to I can't get into a situation where I'm too far away from the GPS for the pod always exists. All right, so I'm running out of space here. So I can only put in stuff that the survival kit can make, which are these items here. So I can't put this in here. Can't put that in there. Or this, or that, or that. Or the scrap. What I need is a separate container, but I'll get into that later. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully grind this and that small conveyor tube until it gets under that functional line. And then I'm going to weld it. It's not this one, it's this one. The cargo container. And then I'm going to weld it back up. And then you'll see that it unlocks a bunch of stuff. One of those things being those conveyor. So that's the order. And I sometimes forget, and so I have to grind one, find out that I can't do it, and then I do the other one. Now one of the things I want to do with that small container is make sure that it's empty. Cargo. Small cargo. It's got stuff in it. So I don't want to lose that. Need to get rid of this beacon. It gets in the way. So I'm out of space. I'm gonna have to drop some stuff. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw some of this on the ground. Throw these on the ground. Get that out of that. And the reason I wanted to throw this on the ground, even though I'm picking up the same stuff, is I need the space. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave these two here. I'm going to take out this. It's a parachute hatch, which I don't need. I'm going to take these two out. I'm going to put... Oh. So now that I can make those parts, one of the things you notice is like, okay, I have all this stuff on this toolbar, right? I've not changed any of my toolbars yet. If I go to 2, 3, 4, I'm holding down the control key, hitting 2. These gives me the other toolbars I have, and if you notice at the very bottom, you notice the highlighted portions change. To change what's on there, you hit G, and then you see all these blocks, and that's where I was going to see the progression. Was I was hitting G, and it goes to this block screen, but then I click the progression tab, and then I can see how I unlock stuff. Go to this block section. I'm going to change the way this toolbar is arranged. So I like this. These are my 3 main tools: weld, arc grinder, hand drill, light armor block. I'm going to change 5 to this sloped one. I'm going to change 6 to this light armor slope. And I'm going to change 7 to these. And notice that there's a little plus sign next to them. And then I'm going to move the landing gear from 9 to 8. I'm going to go control 9, and I'm going to move the solar panel and wind turbine one to position 1. Everybody's thing is different. Set it up however it makes you work, but after a while you start to get a kind of idea of where things are, and that way you don't have to kind of do the whole like control hit 1 and go and look through all the stuff to try to find the stuff and go, oh, I don't have it, and then you just kind of load it and then swapping things out, which takes a lot of time. Just have a kind of set way you do stuff. So I have this. I'm going to go to character weapons, and that handgun that we got, I'm going to put it right there. Not that I'm going to need it, because nothing's going to shoot me, come after me. But if you play with mods, you want that. Or if you make any setting changes, you'll want that. So back to G. I want to go to toolbar 4, all blocks. I want to go down here, and I'm going to populate these blocks here, which are our conveyor blocks that we have unlocked. And then I'm going to go up to here, this cargo one, and put it there. And I'll put this one over here. So this is toolbar 4. This is my conveyor system bar. So now that we have that, we go to 2, and I'm just going to put this there and weld that up. I'm going to go back to 1, select 4, put that there. And I think I'm going to put one up here too, up over. Now I'm going to back up. I'm going to go to toolbar 2, which is empty, G. And this cockpit over here, I'm going to put this on 9. And while I'm here, I'm going to throw some wheels in. So I usually like the all-terrain ones. They're cooler. Now you'll notice that they're pointed, the right's on this side, the left's on this side. And so you end up, I always have to put them the other way around. Just because I like the left and the left and the right and the right. Go figure, I'm weird. All right, we got that. I'm going to also take this remote control one and put that on 8. And this is just the way that I do things over experience and time. I'm actually going to populate a lot of these things that I normally use. I already put in this cylindrical column one. I'm going to put this in 5. This is going on 4. It's going on 9. I'm going to go to toolbar 9. I'm going to put this survival kit 6, and I put this refinery at 5. That's about it for right now. Now, what I was saying earlier, if I went to 4, which is my conveyor system, 2, which is my small ones, you notice when I first went there, it was actually here, and then it switched to this. I'm using the scroll wheel to scroll with them. That little plus sign on those parts means that. So if I was to go here, and you notice that these all have plus signs, but if I want to add, and if you highlight over them and look over to the right, you'll notice all of the different blocks that are available under that plus sign, and you scroll through them, and that's how you select those different parts. So we got those. So now I'm going to go to toolbar 2, section 9, which gives me the cockpit. And notice it's like the back of it. I'm going to rotate that using the delete key. And you can see that up in the top right. That gives you your directional menu. So you notice delete turns it this way, page down turns it this way, and rotates it this way, home turns it this way. So, and insert and page up will rotate them. So I place that, and we're gonna weld that. We're gonna run out of stuff, so I'm gonna right click on it, and you notice it says components added to build planner. If I keep doing that, it keeps doing it. I go to G, and you notice I have like 3 of them down here in this build planner section, this bottom right. I'm going to right click to remove 2 of those so that I only have the 1. I'm going to pick up these parts here so before I forget. Oops, actually I want to leave those on the ground. These antenna components are the easiest because they take up way more space than they need to. So now that this is in my build planner here, instead of manually moving them over, and I can hold down the Alt key, and actually no, that's putting it in. It's Control. No, I think it's just center click. Yes, center. Just hitting the center click pulls it out. So I can pull out parts that. So center click, no key, pulls stuff out. So now it says can't withdraw 4 displays and 30 bulletproof glass. Go to production. Notice I can't make anything that says bulletproof glass. What I can do is make these displays. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So pull those out, and it still says I can't make bulletproof glass. That's fine, because since it is over the functional line in the build that you see in the bottom right, it builds. It's just going to be incomplete because it doesn't have that bulletproof glass, but that doesn't stop us from using it. So now I can pick up these parts and put them in here. In fact, I can put all of these things in here. I'm not going to put these in there because I can put them in the survival kit. And put that in there. So now I have all that stuff. And even that's now full. So that's a problem. Oh, there's a rock. I got a rock. Put that in there. Okay. So to solve that problem, we're going to need to build a container to put stuff in. So if you remember, if in the 4 menu, the third key was where I had the little small container, but it's a plus sign, which means I can scroll it. So I scroll down 1, I get this medium container, which weirdly fits exactly right there. We weld that. We right click on it, go over here, center click on that, and it tells us that we're missing parts. 3 computers and a display. So I go, and you can either do it from here or from here. Now note, if I hit F here, I get the menu. If I hit F here, I start recharging my suit and filling my hydrogen, because that's what the survival kit can do, is it recharges you, and If you have an O2H2 gen connected to it, which we do on the one side, it will also fill our oxygen and hydrogen. Handy. So we hit F here, go to production. We make the one of those and I think it was 4 of those. So now go back to this, hit the middle mouse key, and we still got the 30 bulletproof glass, but we can weld this now. If you want to not see the bulletproof glass thing anymore, go to the G menu, go down here into the cockpit, just right click, get rid of it. So now you don't get that notification anymore. All right, so now we're able to store all of our garbage, which we can take some of this garbage out of here and go back here and go here, just Alt F key that stuff in there. Now I'm not trying to draw it out with the just middle mouse key, because to draw it out you have to have it associated with a blueprint. It just doesn't randomly pull just because you think it's not going to pull it out. Okay, so now we have a cockpit that we can get into, and that'll charge our suit and stuff like that. That gives us the ability to steer or control steering. It doesn't actually give us the ability to steer. What gives us the ability to steer is we need a gyro. And because we made this cockpit, we now have the ability to make gyros, theoretically. So to make sure, we go down to here. Here's where our cockpit is, and because we made the landing gear, which gave us the cockpit gave us this next group of stuff, which is the thrusters and this little jobby, the gyro. So remember when I grinded on this a little bit? Now I can weld it now because those are unlocked. So we need to build a gyro. To build a gyro, you're going to need some of this steel plate. So I'll just grab that steel plate. We're going to go up here. We're going to go up here, and we're going to go G, second toolbar, right there. We're going to grab this gyro and I'm going to stick it right there. While we're here, I'm also going to go to toolbar 9, and I'm going to take these, actually let's just use these for continuity. Grab these thrusters, these atmospheric thrusters. I'm also going to, just for giggles, grab these ion thrusters. Let's do the warfare ones. I'll put those right here. Not that we're going to use those, just saving them for later. We're going to switch back to menu 1, go to our grinder, and we're going to take out these blocks here carefully. We don't want to grind the stuff that's under there. We just want to take out these blocks. Oh, I want to. Exciting, isn't it? Space engineers for fun and profit. All right, so now that we have basically channeled it, now I'm going to go back to toolbar 2, option 7, and we're going to set down that gyro, and we're going to weld it. It's going to want some other parts. Going to right click that. That puts us in the G menu, and we see it right there. The build planner, as it were. We're going to go back here and middle click, and we're going to be short 2 computers. So we're just going to make those 1, 2. Center click again, and we get those parts, and then boom. Got ourselves a gyro. Now we can steer. Beauty, huh? Now the next thing we need to do is we need to be able to go up and over. So we have the ability to go up. If you notice, we already have 4 thrusters on here. We only need 2 of those. So we can go up, and gravity will pull us down. So that's 2 directions. So we want to be able to go forward and backward. So what we're going to do is take these bad boys off. because we don't need them. Trust me, I know. And we're gonna lay them here. So we go to 9. Now we're gonna scroll through. There's two sizes. There's a super big one and a small one. We don't want the super big one. We want the small one. Place that one there. Flip that over and place that one here. Now we can go forward and backwards. Now remember earlier when I got that unknown signal? Notice in the parts list in here, there's a 1 metal grid and 1 large steel tube. We can't make the metal grid or the large steel tube, but we have 5 metal grids and we have 2 large steel tubes. So we actually have the parts to make ones for the left and right. We don't normally always have that, and sometimes we have to kind of make do, but due to the unknown signal lottery, we have those available to us now. So we're going to set those down now. 1, 2. Get in there. What's your problem? Oh, I didn't grind down those 2 blocks. Now I have a tendency to take my welder out and just check to make sure that I didn't weld out the blocks from under it. 9, boom. Okay, boom. And now we need more stuff. So there's a laundry list of stuff that I can't remember. So instead I'm going to hold down the shift key and then hit middle. And you'll see all components successfully added to production. So we go to the production tab and we can see that the motors that we need to make are being made. However, what we do notice in here is that we are getting this red mark of nickel. We need more nickel, which means that we have to do more mining. Which of course we always have to do more mining. Welcome to Space Engineers. Alright, before we go any further, I'm gonna dump these off. And then I'm actually gonna get in here and I'm gonna go in here, and these new thrusters I made, I'm gonna turn them off, so I don't use up battery. And then ones I haven't made yet, I'm gonna shut off. And on these 2 that are already existing, I'm actually going to turn them on in the terminal so I don't forget about them. All right, so back to mining. We haven't found any like raw ores yet, but we do get iron, silicon, and nickel from stone. And the only thing that we have that can refine anything essentially is the survival kit. So and it can only work with stone anyway, so getting, mining anything like ores wouldn't do us any good because we have no ability to refine it yet. So we're just gonna do this whole drilly thing. Yeah, so you can notice how you can barely hear it. So to get the tool noise down to where it's in a reasonable level, you lose any of the audio notifications that you actually could be useful. So when it comes to adding mods, as I'm thinking about it, the thing that you want to do is that you want to try to play in vanilla as much as possible before you start getting into the whole like mod crazy. And everyone says that, but and even when I first started, I was like, why? I want to do all this cool stuff first. All of this other stuff's kind of like boring, One is that you have to kind of figure out how to get comfortable with how the game mechanics work before adding mods, really, to kind of figure out what you need. Like for me, it was always I was always when I first started, I was very resistant about adding new mods, but it became readily apparent very quickly what I wanted. Like things that I didn't like about the game and how I wanted to adjust it. And from there, that's when I figured out okay, and being very conservative and minimalistic when it came to like adding mods. All right, let's see how we're doing. Getting really close. And oh, so close, but not quite. One more run. One of the things I was saying earlier about like rock versus dirt. So we're getting a little bit more, because we're a little bit farther down now, we get a little bit more of the stone for our drilling than we did when we were at the surface. And that's because we're getting into that rock layer. Still slow going because this is annoying. And don't worry if you feel like the hand drilling is a detractor. Don't worry. This is an ends to a means. This is not the entirety of the gameplay. This is just how you start to kind of get to where you're going so that you can do something else. We'll see more later. I promise. Ugh. Okay. I put that in. I'm just gonna clean up my mess. Because if I'm not anything, I'm tidy. Let's make sure I didn't leave anything sitting around here. No. That's good. Alright. That should get us there. Yep, that does. Gonna switch back my welder. Center click. It says we're one motor short. And now we have all of ours. So I weld this one. Go back. Click again. Successfully withdrawn. Alright, so what do we've got? We have a gyro, so now we have the ability to steer. We have the ability to go left, right, forward, and back, and then up, and then gravity will pull us down. So we are essentially fully capable of movement, but not quite yet. There's one other thing. It's dark out, so I'm gonna do a little extra modding here. I'm gonna take these out of the way so I can see better. And then what I'm gonna do is let's see. Yeah. I am going to add right about here. I am going to add G. See if I have them available yet. Progression. I want to add some lights. I'm going to figure out where lights are. They're here after the assembler. Ah, so I can't add lights yet. Bugger. Alright, we're just going to have to make do with what we got, and it's dark. Luckily, it's vanilla, and I can still see in the dark. See, if I turn these off, still can see. I don't have... there's a mod I run that makes it really super dark. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is that I have all of these. I'm going to label this one backing. But I'm going to take these, I'm going to highlight these by holding down the control key while I select them. And I'm going to put these into a group. I'm going to call this group Pod Thrusters. save that. And now I'm going to just turn it off the toolbar config and turn it off the terminal. So now they're hidden again. I'm also going to change this name of this to pod ammo, and this comes into play later. And I'll switch these ones too. Reason being is that if I'm connected to a base with a bunch of other things, and they all say pod atmo, or they all say just atmospheric thruster, anything that says atmospheric thruster, say like atmospheric thruster 5, and that's part of a group. If I turn that group on, anything that's atmospheric thruster 5 turns on. Doesn't matter if it's attached to this grid or not. So I can actually end up turning on and off thrusters on a ship that I'm not in. That happens a lot with connectors too. So you have to be mindful. And this is the reason why, annoying as it may be, it's always good to go back and go through and relabel stuff. And the easiest way to do that is just copy paste. Literally highlight. So like I go to here, highlight this area, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and I just go through and paste that in. The lights don't usually matter so much, but I'm going to hit them anyway. This just, it's the little annoying thing now that saves my ass later when I'm connected to something. And I turn stuff on and off, and it doesn't go on and off. Okay, so that's not all our stuff. Now, one of the next things I'm going to do is these landing gear. I'm going to put those in a group, landing gear. Save. I'm going to turn the auto lock off. They're defaultly an auto lock, which is really annoying because what will happen is that when they come in contact with the ground or another thing, they'll lock to it, which is handy when you want it to do it, but it's not handy all of the rest of the time. So literally, so go to landing gear. I'm gonna cycle these. I want them on, but I don't want them in terminal, and I don't want them in the toolbar, and I want to make sure the auto lock is off. So battery, cockpit, lights. I'm gonna group these together and just call them pod lights. And there's some ones that are flashing. I'm going to turn the blinking off by turning these blinking intervals off because that's annoying. And let's see, the lights, battery, cockpit, gyro. Now the cargo one, I don't like the long names, and I feel that cargo and container are kind of redundant, so I usually cut that off. And then what I do, it's a personal preference, I take it out of the toolbar config because there's no toolbar configuration I can do with a cargo, and I take it out of terminal because I'm not really going to do anything with it, but I leave it in the inventory so I see it in the inventory. That's fine, that's fine. Same with this one, just hack that off and do that, and that's fine. So now I can turn the show hidden blocks off, and we get a good list of the stuff that we need to see. But the big thing is, while we're in out and about and we hit G, this is where we get all these parts menus and we get a progression. And when we're in a cockpit and we hit G, we get the options of what we can set up the toolbar for when we're in the cockpit. Because if you notice, my toolbar is empty in here when I'm in the cockpit. It has the stuff from when I'm a person in here, but in here it's blank. So we hit G, and then we can put stuff on this toolbar. This is how we control the ship. So I'm going to put these thrusters here. I'm going to take that one single backing thruster, put it here, and I'm selecting the on and off. So I'm figuring out, I'm grabbing it. So grab this thing, go over here. I'm selecting on and off, and there's different options that you can do with this, but I'm just having it so I can turn them on and off. And that should be about it. Probably put the lights on here so I can turn the lights on and off. Not that that's a big deal. Also, I noticed that I forgot to check that. All right, So now what I can do is this, I can turn, oh, there's one other thing I wanted to do. Group, landing gear, switch lock. So these are all, the first set are all on and off. That last one in number 9 is to switch the lock. So I can turn on these engines. The gyro's already on. I hit 9 to unlock it. Now if I press the space bar, I can fly up. If I do my D key, I go to the right, A goes to the left, go down to C, space bar up, W for forward, S for back, and then you have the QE keys to kind of go left and right. Now I'm gonna move this forward a little bit and down, level it off, and you'll notice in the bottom kind of center right, there'll be like your artificial horizon. You notice how it's kind of like changing how that is. And so I make sure I get that flat and get the line between the two lines there. And then I'm gonna slowly put this down. And when I get to the ground, you'll see the ready to, and I hit the 9 and switch to lock. Pretty handy. All right, so we're able to fly now. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to toolbar 2 because I like putting it on toolbar 2. I'm going to put this antenna, turn it on and off, and the ore detector to turn it on and off. I'm also going to put the battery that I have, I'm going to put it over here, on and off, and the recharge on and off. And the reason for the recharge is that once I build a base, I want to maybe change the charging on it. And so I want to have that key. And I put the on and off here because if I get in a low power state, I might want to turn it off so I can save power. What I don't want to do is put it on the first key here because while I'm flying, I might accidentally hit that button and drop out of the sky and break everything. And I say that because I've done it a couple of times. It's the reason why I put it in toolbar 2. The reason why I put the antenna and the ore detector in toolbar 2 is because I don't use them that often and I get in the way, and it's not something I turn on and off very often. So the ore detector is on, the antenna is on, so we're good there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn all this on, and we're going to unlock, turn this on, turn unlock, and then we're going to go up. Not too high. Now tree height I find is like right around 20-30 meters. So you want to be cautious with that. You don't want to get too high because if you notice over here in our ore detector, our max range is 50 meters. So we get too high, we can't detect anything. We're only detecting about half of what's in the ground. So really kind of want to just skirt along the bottom here. And plus we can't see squat anyways because it's late at night. And if you notice, I have my suit lights on, and that's what I'm using to kind of see forward. So I'm kind of flying. Now you notice that I turned of all the thrusters, I kept the backing thruster separate. I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm going to push forward. So now you notice I am just kind of coasting forward now. And I'm slowing down ever so slightly. If I need to stop, I turn it back on and it stops me. This is how you can efficiently run your thrusters. So it becomes very important when it comes to running your hydrogen thrusters. Hydrogen thrusters, you'll go through a lot of hydrogen fuel very fast, so you want to be very conservative with this. So we're moving forward. We're moving away from stuff, which is that GPS marker we made for that one thing. So we're floating, we're doing about 9 knots, and I'm heading towards this other unknown signal because, hey, that's more parts. I'll speed this up to about 30. And we're just going to keep a watchful eye for ores. So with the latest update, you'll notice that we get a little kind of reticle icon that, and it's showing white. That means that this is a neutral thing. We don't have to worry about it shooting back at us. So we're gonna head towards this, and I'm gonna hit that backing thruster to slow us down a bit. I don't want to wait until we reach it because we're not gonna stop on a dime. We only got one thruster, and it's not known for stopping super quickly. So we're just kind of feather that till we get real close to it, and then we're just gonna drop down here. And we got ready to lock, so we hit that. So now a little side note, that ready to lock is based off of not all of the landing gear. It is based off this landing gear, whatever the first one in the list is. So it's based off of landing gear 1. So you might not get excuse me, you might not get a ready to lock because of this landing gear here, depending on what it is. We don't know which one is which because that's a different mod. Ooh, we've got space credits, 2,998. That'll come up handy later. Let's press the button, see what else we got. We got newspaper grinder. Whee! Okay, so to get this stuff out of the container, yes, that's where I got the bucks. So just gonna grind this all down. Free parts is free parts, baby. Stuff we don't have to make and we don't have to scavenge for. Get in there. All right, so take our new bootay and we go back here, holding down the Alt key, center click, boom, we deposit all our stuff. But hey, space credit stayed with us because there are certain items that will not go through. They're generally anything that's not associated with building something. So ammo won't go, space credits won't go, your guns, your tools, this pad. Speaking of that pad, let's go to GPSs. Let's get rid of that stuff one. We don't need that, but we have that SASR station. So we need a direction to go. So we don't know where else to go. So we're just not, we might not make it to that station, but we're going to head in that direction. So at least we have, well, as we're scanning for ores, we can scan, we have a place to go to while we're looking. So we're just going to fly real low, do about 30 meters per second. And you can see that on our lower left speed. Oh, we have gold. So I'm going to stop and silver. Side note, here you'll generally find the gold and silver by each other in vanilla. It tends to be the way it goes. So I don't have a use for these, nor do I have the ability to refine them right now because I don't have a refinery. There's no sense in kind of getting them. Well, I'm really looking kind of for ice at this juncture. So what I'm going to do, but since I'm getting both of these, I'm going to make a GPS marker. I'm going to say new from current position, and I'm going to say Earth because we're kind of on an Earth-like planet, and we're going to do AG and AU. A lot of people tend to use their periodic table elements to mark their stuff. I do sometimes, most of the times, if I can remember what they are. Sometimes I forget. But that's how they come up in the menu as well, so it's handy. So we at least know where we can find some of that, even if we don't end up using it. So get us back up to speed. Now the goal here is I notice I'm going to go into third person view. It's because the lighting's better. One of the other things that is also a thing is if you're looking at this terrain, you notice these white spots here. I'm going to hit this back thruster to slow us down. I'm going to head towards these white spots here. And I'll bet you that's going to be an ore deposit. Ore deposits will show up as kind of like white spots in the terrain. And sure enough, that's nickel. So we're and magnesium. So we're gonna mark this as well. And we're gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna go enter GPS Earth NIMG. Enter. Okay, so let's keep on going because, like I said, our goal here is ice. And we want to kind of stay, like I said, right around that 25 to 30 range. And I'm going to turn my backing thruster off. So I'm hitting the Alt key and rotating to kind of see off to the side, see if there's anything of interest that direction. It's good to look around and look at the terrain, figure out what you're dealing with. Like I can already see I'm heading above my, like what I said is staying below, like right around 25-30, but considering I'm going right towards the hill, it's probably best that I come up a little bit for a little while. And we're gonna keep on this heading, try to keep that horizon, crosshair horizon above the tree line. Looks pretty good. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to watch this terrain, watch our speed, and we're just going to look for white spots. And what we're also going to look for is ice, because that's our kind of our first main goal right now. Occasionally I'm just going to hit this forward thruster silicon. I'm not going to worry about that. Going to drop this down a little bit. We're up a little high. And so this is our planetary exploration method. Now we can do this, we can convert this to a rover by doing wheels. The only difference is that we'd have to make the ability to manufacture the wheels, and so we'd end up having to establish a base early. But speaking of ice, here we have a big ass ice lake. This is generally one of the things we like to find because it makes finding everything easy and it gives us a flat surface to work off of. So ice lakes are really handy. You'll find a lot of people who do speed runs, like myself, will either try to get to or try to find, they'll respawn until they get near an ice lake, or they'll try to get to one really quickly. It makes things really easy. So we're going to get down here carefully so we don't crash into it. Let's switch this view over. And we're gonna, you'll see it'll say ice. I'm gonna point this up a little bit. Hopefully it won't keep dropping and we start to level off. Okay, we're gonna level off. And I'm gonna slow this down. We're going too fast. It's down to 50 is pretty good. So what we're looking for now that we found ice is we want to find iron. Ice is going to represent all of our power and survival stuff. Iron is going to be our core building material. So we're going to want it, and we want a lot of it. Oh. Now, much with like on the ground where we see white spots, in ice we want to look for dark spots. Where ore is. Unfortunately, it's nighttime, so we can't see it really well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just do a quick run around this base to see if I run across any iron. There's magnesium. Oh, we're a little low. But we're not going to really see the black spots that we're kind of looking for right away because it's dark. And it'll be easier to see when it's light out. So we're just going to kind of cruise along here. We're going to look for iron to kind of pop up. Fingers crossed. Carolina Slacker, thank you. Sorry I didn't see your message earlier. All right. Not used to looking at chat on a Sunday night. I'm glad to see everything's working though. So the OBS update went better this round than it did last. We'll have to check a lot of other things though. I basically need to run through like my normal streaming routine, not just my pre-flight checks, to make sure everything is working after the update. But so far everything looks okay. So I think I crossed over the same spot again. So I'm gonna do one run across the lake, dead center. Kind of waiting for the sun to come up. I'm also watching the mountain range on either side to see if there's any kind of white spots on there, because it could be where it's just like on the edge. Generally there will be a deposit of iron somewhere on here. It's just a matter I can't see it right now. Magnesium silicon, which I've driven over many a times. Oh, might be some stuff here. So what you saw me do there is this is a... So in third, I held down this, I scrolled back to try to get kind of an overview, and then I scrolled back in and then just hit V twice to reset my view. This is what we were talking about earlier about like controlling your view. So can't believe this ice lake has no iron. Come on. Part of this too is this thing that really irritates me, and it's one of the first mods when I started playing Space Engineers I ever went for, which was something to increase the range of the ore detector. 30 meter or 50 meters is not... That's about the same as what you get off your drill. Your drill gives you 50, and then... let's go towards this unknown signal. At least I'll get some material out of that. That's about... there. Try to meet it as it comes down. Another thing to do is kind of watch is you notice this is like as I hit my thrusters at the bottom right, you'll see it says with nothing selected it's 34, then I push forward it's 23. That's about how much time I've got before I run out of battery, and I don't want to like totally run myself out of battery, so I don't want to spend too much time goofing around with this because I don't have infinite power. So I'm gonna swing this back, and I'm gonna tilt down to help slow me down, which will help bring me down. So you have to be careful with that. Hopefully I didn't break landing gear. The good news is this is one of those ones with a thruster. It means I'm going to get a free large steel tube and a metal grid out of it. The downside is it means it's going to take off as soon as I come out of the cockpit. So one of the things I want to do is I can see that button on the side. There's two buttons there. I'm going to have to try to select those buttons as quickly as I can. So I'm going to F out of here, and that's the wrong one. This is what I was talking about earlier. Got it. So once I got that, I didn't get any special items, but now this isn't going to go away from me anymore. One of the other things you can do is when you get out, so you don't have to try to chase it as it's hopping, is while you're pointing directly at it, hit Control Z, and if you notice down in the bottom next to the speed, they'll say dampeners auto. This means it's auto dampened to this. It will basically, as your jetpack is on, however this is moving, it's going to adjust with it. And then to turn that off, you just hit Z, which turns it off, and then turn it back on again. With that off, you can do things like you can Z push forward and go, and it'll keep going in that direction. But the problem is that it also is affected by gravity, which means you're going to keep on bouncing. So it's great to use in space. It's a pain in the ass to use down on a planet, but it does help keep your hydrogen usage down. So good to know. Like I said, it's something you use more in space. All right. Time for some more free parts. Really, I'm just burning time till we get daylight so I can see the ore deposits better. And this crappy ass grinder. Get the stuff out of here. No. Got more bucks. Now, remember what I said about the garbage cleanup earlier? See this battery? We tend to want to chew that up last. Otherwise, this will, not that I expect that I'm going to get more than 500 meters from this, but it's always good practice to kind of like do batteries last so that you don't, particularly if you've you have a drone, which you'll run into in space. So while we're on the planet in vanilla, we don't ever have to worry about being attacked by anything, because we haven't turned on anything, and we're not running any mods. So as long as we're down here, we're safe. When we start to deal with drones is when we go to space. So oops, dang it. So this was something that'll happen. I just got scrap. Should I do the show? May have grabbed it in time. Sometimes you'll scrap out a part because the component came out and you didn't realize it, and you hit it with your drill and you drilled it, and then it becomes scrap part. Another thing to note is also, since we're here, I'll grind this battery, and notice I didn't get any. I got these scrap metal parts. I didn't get any power cell parts. You cannot grind down batteries to get power cells, even though batteries contain power cells. Note, we can't make power cells yet because you can only make power cells in an assembler. You cannot make power cells in a survival kit. So be cautious about grinding around your battery. Next thing you know, it's just like you are if you grind this battery off and you in any way and damage the power cell, this becomes inoperable, which means you can't charge your suit, you can't process any stone. So whatever parts you've got, and you can't actually access everything directly through your inventory system. In other words, I can access the stuff in the cargo, but I can no longer get to anything in the survival kit because the battery's off, so the conveyor system doesn't work. So I have to access the inventory through this panel here, and anything that's up in here, and you get into a world of hurt. The biggest problem is that what you get into in a situation is you have no power, you have no ability to refine anything, you have no ability to manufacture anything, and so you have to build you're going to have to try to build either a solar panel, which is highly unlikely, but most likely a wind turbine and an assembler with the parts that you've got, and that's you can find available on your pod or any unidentified signals that happen to drop on. Other than that, you're kind of screwed. And what's really going to be a problem is you notice I have these, but nothing in here, this grid uses girders. The big problem is if you go to, come on, the wind turbine, you'll notice it takes 24 girders and 8 motors. So the rest of those components I can get off the rig. Those girders, they don't exist anywhere else other than what you can manufacture in the survival kit. In fact, actually, a smart move to cover your ass when you first start out is to go in production and make 24 of these. Just in case you derp up and you hit that battery, or that battery gets hit, you have at least those parts available. You can grind the rest. You can get the rest of the parts from somewhere on the rover. You can't get girders anywhere. There's nothing in here that uses girders. Girders are one of those really weird parts. It doesn't get used very often in very many things. Okay, the sun's coming up soon, so we'll be able to kind of do another way to investigate a lake. And we should already have our bottle. Let's check our bottle. It's at 52. Let's fill that. Well, I want to wait until the sun gets completely over the lake. We can turn off our headlamp. One of the things I like about this game is the views. Very nice. Very majestic. And how I did that was I'm just tapping this is what I was saying earlier. The HUD key is the tab key. So this is where you start. You tap it once and you notice the letter indicators over like the helmet and stuff like that go off. And then again it goes totally out. But you have this, and this. And back on. The other one that they were talking about, H, turns on changes the GPS markers. So no markers, normal, which is they don't show anything unless you're name. They show the marker, but they don't show the name till you're kind of pointed in the general direction. And then the next one, which is they're constantly available, the full name and everything like that. And then no names at all, even if you're pointed at the GPS markers. The oars will always show up. And then off. All right, so we're looking pretty good. So the next way that we can investigate our lake is we just jetpack, spacebar, and go. So we have a dark spot over there. We have a dark spot over there. And then I'm actually, so there's it's like about 4 different dark spots in here. That's cool. And we're gonna head back down here. 5. Let's see, 5. So remember, we're looking for iron. So get down to here, get back in. What the hell's going on? Not lifting up. I'm heavy for some reason. Let me try something. So the reason why I know I'm heavy is because I can move left to right, so it's not a landing gear problem. Let's see, my up thrusters are on, so I'm too heavy. So let's shut these off for a bit, and I'm not running out of juice, so we're heavy. So what we're gonna have to do is We're gonna have to lose some weight. No, space engineers are so judgy. Let's see. What we're gonna do is I'm going to make a temporary thing. So to lose weight, 1, 4. I'm gonna throw some blocks down in the middle of them. I don't have the ability to make a battery yet. This could go bad. So remember when I was talking about the trash cleanup? We need to be over 20 blocks to keep it from despawning. So that's 3, 7, that's 21. Okay, we're good. So let's do this, and then I'm just gonna weld up these blocks. 1. And basically what I'm burning off is steel plate. And what I was talking about area effective before too. Alright, notice how, okay, I'm holding my welder and I'm not welding this block, any of these blocks. So I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna slowly tilt down until it starts welding. Now, higher tilt welders will actually, and see I'm walking up on this one and it's not until I turn it down. Higher tiered welders will have a much farther area of effect. You don't have to be as close to being on top of them as that to do it. All right. Should be enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 21 blocks. We should be all right. Should. Turn this on. Yeah. So we're able to fly now. Actually, let's GPS this in. So now if you just type GPS with nothing, it just makes a GPS marker with your name. So I'm going to fly towards those dark spots. Hopefully they're not all the same thing. Okay, this is the silicon magnesium one. I think the other one near it was the same. You have to be very cautious with this one. It's really close to the... Let's say this is magnesium. It's probably going to be like silicon too. Oh, it's nickel. Cross over here. This other one. This one's kind of big. This one's also silicon and magnesium. This is very annoying. And nickel. Well, definitely know this is what I call a magnesium. Whoa. What I call a magnesium lake, which is where you have a lot of a particular type of ore, and so it really kind of dictates what's the the core of the lake is. It's a good combat lake. So there's 3 of them over here, I believe. This is the first one, and this one is more magnesium and silicon. Man, I hope this isn't the only thing that's on this lake. This is gonna suck. There's a way around that, though. I'm just gonna check these ore deposits, and then we'll go to a secondary protocol. Which sucks, but it's doable. Okay, and you are silicon. I've not ever seen this happen so much before, where it's all just 3 separate ores and all the deposits. Even if you're running the ore distribution mod, it's still not this bad. Yeah, it's just magnesium silicon. Let's try over here. Okay, there's a spot over here and a spot over there. Come on, lottery. God damn it. More freaking you know, and the irony is that if I was looking for magnesium, never find it. It'd all be iron. Iron here, iron, constantly iron. We're gonna check this last spot, and if this doesn't work, we're gonna do something else. Because I can't spend the entire stream just flying around looking at ore deposits. Iron, jeez, of course. Always in the last one. It's always in the last place you look. Alright. So we're gonna set this down right here. Make sure my inventory is empty. And then I'm gonna head back over here. That's funny. And I'm gonna pick back up all my steel plate that I unloaded for space. Actually, for weight. The interesting thing is I've noticed that I had my game audio turned off the entire time. That's awesome. All right. head back to our pod, and we're gonna set up now a little bit of drilling. So one of the problems that we have when we first start out, so now we have established our base location. We've got ice, so we've got access to power and hydrogen consumption. And now we have iron, which is one of our core materials. And interestingly, we now know where like there's nickel and silicon and magnesium. So we have guns for days. The only material, and we had some marker a while back for gold and silver when we need it. And that's not too far away. The one that we don't have yet that we'll have to explore later, which will probably come later, is cobalt. Any other material other than that is not found on this planet. So that would be your uranium, your platinum. So, but that's way ahead of ourselves. What we really need to do is first establish basic production capabilities. And the way I like to do that is 4 blocks. Now, the cheapest way to make these is actually a foundation is actually with interior plates. So we've got a few, and iron usage wise, it's better to use the interior wall block because it uses less iron overall. It takes more components, but it uses less iron. Like these blocks here actually take a lot of iron, but the thing is that we have a lot more of the steel plate than we have anything else. A, and B, they're much easier to weld, and C, we just have a lot of them when we start out. Like we have like 200 versus like the 53. So, and it's just easier. So, set up 4 blocks here, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and put down. We're going to go to that 9 menu, and remember where I put that survival kit. I'm not going to use that survival kit. What I'm going to do is notice it's a +1, so I'm going to scroll it, and I get this basic assembler. And there's a port on it. There is only 1 port on a basic assembler. So we're going to face that way. Now, most people would just automatically just throw in their basic refinery right next to it. I'm not. I'm going to actually extend this out 1 block. What I'm going to do, actually I need that. Need this. I'm going to put a small cargo container here, even though I'm not going to finish it. And then I'm going to go back to menu 9 in basic refinery and put that in place. The reason being is eventually I'm going to want this here, but I don't need it right away. Yes, it will be a pain in the ass because I have to swap blocks back and forth. The other reason I do it is because now I can go to this menu 3 option 1 and go for this cylindrical column 1, and I can set that on a block that I know I'm going to keep, which is that cargo container. And what we want to do is we want to be at least 8 high. So don't count the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now for 7, I'm going to go to menu 4, 9, and I'm going to select up this conveyor pipe junction. And the reason will become evident in a second here. And then I'm going to go back to menu 3 and this and there. So what that does is that makes it so that when I put on other ones of these, it all kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. It's one of those looks kind of things, but for the most part we don't need those right now. We just need the 1 wind turbine. And then we just weld this. And remember earlier when I made those 24 girders? Now we should be all set. Now we have power generation. which is not doing very well because of the weather. If you notice, it's getting very foggy. It's because we're getting hit with a fog, which is going to slow things down, but it's okay because we've got to make some stuff first. So I'm going to start welding up this basic assembler and this basic refinery. Because all the stuff I was doing earlier, I already have the steel plates for them. What I'm going to need is the motors, computers, and construction components for the rest. So let's check my G menu, and then there, right click that, add that to the build planner, add that to the build planner. And we're going to go over here. I'm going to dump out what I've got by hitting Alt Center. And then I'm opening up the menu to show you this. If you're in the menu, you don't have to exit out and then do this. You can just go here, and this block here will pull components and it'll tell you the exact same things. So, but if you want to auto add stuff to the build, you do have to be out of the menu, select and hit your shift key and then hit middle mouse, and then that will add the components to production. And we see we actually have all the material already because we did a whole lot of mining earlier. It's going to take a lot of computers and it's going to take a lot of time to make them. Actually, weld this first. That's done. You can use that. Waiting for them to compute us. So what I'm also going to do right now, actually I can't yet until this is finished. So with making that basic refinery, what you will see is, which is right here, it unlocks the ore detector, so now we can make one. It unlocks drills. It also unlocks the big assembler and full-size refinery, which is going to come in handy later. That's how we're going to be able to refine things like gold, silver, cobalt. Well, cobalt we can do with the regular one. Same with magnesium. But the gold, silver, platinum, and uranium. Platinum and uranium we don't have to worry about. It's not on this planet right now, so not a big deal. But we do want to actually make one interior wall block. So let's take this one out. And while we're waiting, show you another thing that we can do too. So we're gonna go to 3-1. I'm going to take this block, go to our interior wall block. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna basically, while I'm holding that block, I'm gonna look at this, and then I'm gonna hit center click, and then it's gonna pull the parts that I need for that. Actually, it's not, because I pulled the rest of the computer parts I had, but now I'm gonna do it, and now it's gonna load in the parts for the interior wall. In fact, you'll see that here because I didn't get them all. So we're gonna now add that to the build inventory. Place what we can. Hold up our assembler. Now that we do that, that's going to actually make it so that we unlock some other parts available in here, which you'll see here. So now we can make lights and other associated things because we've made that. We're going to finish this wall block. We put here, unlock that. One of the cool things about having this assembler done, is that we've also unlocked our ability to make batteries, which should be, where is that? remember exactly where it is on the menu. Right here. So see if we follow this line up. Basic assembler, follow this line down, batteries. So now we're able to make batteries. So we're gonna switch this to, we're gonna add batteries to our menu. And this is the other reason why I preload my toolbars, because trying to find these stuff half the time is kind of a pain in the ass. So now make lights. There's a battery at. There it is. Next to the solar panel. And flip this up so you have access. I'm gonna weld that and do that. And what we're gonna notice is that we don't have power cells. And we don't have the ability to make power cells in here, which is fine, because we do have the ability to make power cells in here. So what I'm gonna do is put it in production into there. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna take out my materials out of here. Except the gravel, I don't need that. I'm just gonna grab this rock. Survival kits can only do rock in certain increments. I think it's 100, something like that. And so it can't do anything less than 100. But if I put it in there, it can do them all the way down. So I put this over here. And now that's able to produce green parts. So we notice we need iron and nickel. Interestingly, we're already over a big ass iron deposit. So we're gonna go here. Instead of left click drilling, we're gonna do right click drilling. We're gonna turn a light on. We're just gonna right click drill our way down. Kind of pointing towards that little iron marker. It's a bit of a ways, so it's going to take a little bit. Remember, we can't do ores in our survival kit, but we can do them in the basic refinery. So now having that basic refinery means that we can now process this iron ore. Get down to it and just take Coon's age, because hand drilling is stupid. Getting close, we're at the rock. There it is. The red goodness that is iron. We're gonna get a lot of stone right off the bat. Alright. And we're gonna just jetpack out of here. Go over to our refinery. Dump that in there and go grab another load while for that to process. Okay, so that's processing that. And so what we're going to do is grab this and we're just going to put in here. Now it's going to run kind of crappy because we don't have a battery to regulate the power, and it's only going to be able to, these items are only going to be able to work off the power that is generated off that one wind turbine. So but yeah, essentially, and then what we'll do is to kind of build those power cells, go over to the multitude of freaking magnesium deposits that we've got here. Probably this one over here, and I think this one has nickel. If not, one of the other ones will. This is the one that has silicon. I'm just gonna float over right here. Okay, not that one. Now this one, I think it was this one over here. There you go, nickel. Walk up to this till it gets to the number to the lowest. 7. 7 looks right about here. Actually, let's GPS this. GPS Earth and I. There's a fool's gold, i.e. nickel. And I say fool's gold because in this game it looks like gold, but it's not, because gold is looks completely different. Luckily that gold deposit's not too far away, so that's kind of handy. I'm going to delete that nickel magnesium deposit because this lake is inundated with them and they're much closer. Put that in there. So let's see, which one was it? This one. Delete that, don't need that. We'll keep the other one. Don't need that one anymore. Oh, and we'll might as well shut this one off because we're not going there right now. We might need that one. We'll save that, but we'll turn it off. We'll keep that on because we need to know where we're at. So that's processing that, and then we can go over here, grab this, put it in there. Got a bunch of ice. That's okay, we can use it. Take this ice, stick it up in here. And we can use that to fill our bottles. So you just take a bottle and you stick it in there and ta-da, magically fills. Okay, well that's that. I mean, it's gonna be like processing, so a couple of things I want to go over before the stream is over. So I'm gonna actually exit save changes. So that's a save. So we can load this game again by just going, and that's this one right here, and we can just load that up. But also, let's say you're ready to start adding mods. First thing you do is go into that save, and you have advanced and mods. So this is the game settings, of course. You can switch it to online and from offline to private, friends, public. Public means anyone can join, but they gotta know how to reach you because you're local. Friends, same. Friends and private are virtually the same. It's much different when you're running a server. The private won't post. Friends, it will post into your group that you're playing Space Engineers, and they can join it. And then when you switch to, say, friends, and you can select how many players. The autosave, it saves every 5 minutes, as you can see in the thing, and it will save up to 5 versions of the game. And you can change the description. You can switch to creative mode, and there's a bunch of other settings here. The big things that I'm going to talk about here is character inventory size. A lot of people automatically, one of the first things they do is bump this up to like 5. I don't recommend 10 because that's kind of really just OPing your character, because now you can carry just a ridiculous amount of stuff. Block inventory size, realistic, it's the same deal. Assembler efficiency, refinery speeds, you can change these. It just makes the refining and assemblies faster. Same with welding and grinding. Environment hostility. I recommend always leaving this at safe. What this does is turn on meteors, which is great because you can get like materials that aren't found normally on the planet. But what it is just, it's cool for the first 5 minutes, and after that it's just a raging pain in the ass. Sound, arcade and realistic. I always use arcade because I'm used to the sounds. Realistic sounds weird. If you start playing off the bat and you switch it to realistic and you get used to that sound, that's great. But since it's not the default, whenever you go onto some other server or anything like that and play, then it gets weird. Same with like world size. The only time I'd really set it away from unlimited is if you want to scope how much range that the game uses. And what happens is if you use anything below, like I think it's 20k, you can't get all the worlds spawned into it. So I generally just don't touch this. There's no real need to change it really. View distance, it's best to leave it at 5k. You take performance hits when you go up. You gain performance when you go the other way, but then things don't render as quickly, and then it'll look kind of cheesy. Cooldowns, this is something that you definitely just you generally don't touch, because these settings, all they're doing is just changing the how long it is between, like, when you've deleted your respawn ship and then it regenerates it. Sun rotation, you can make it permanently sunny or permanently dark, and you can change the day duration, how long a day lasts. The standard's 2 hours, but you can adjust that. I generally don't. Max objects, this is basically what this does is that, let's say you're drilling by hand and you're generating a bunch of rocks, but you're not picking them up. After it reaches 100, and this counts for any kind of loose items as well, once it reaches that point, it just starts deleting them. So you don't, you're gonna like, I'm gonna make this big pool of rocks and then pick it up later. Well, when it hits that 100 object limit, it just starts removing them. And the more entities that you have, the smaller that number gets as well. Animal NPC limit. This only comes into play if you actually turn on animals, and I'll get into that in a second. Block limits. These are generally disabled for ship size and blocks per player. If you're playing as a group, you may want to like lower it so that you don't have that buddy who like decides to build like big, massive, huge ships and then basically destroys the gameplay on your server or your locally played game, because the blocks, he's got such big, huge things that it's taking up all the CPU time. But for the most part, disabled. PCU. Now this is a big debatable topic. I turn mine on, leave it on, and if I need more, I take more. I can always adjust the PCU limit, but here's the thing. This is the only gauge that you have of about how to control when you're getting to the edge of your game's performance level. I've been running mine at about 200,000. Okay, but I have a pretty beefy rig. When I first started playing this game with the original rig that I had, when I got close to that 100,000 limit, everything started to get weird. Like, my player would walk slower, things would happen, I would have more weird things happen to it. It was just odd. A lot of people just go ahead and turn that off and then just deal with the ramifications later. I don't. I like having the ability to see what the PCU limit is, how much PCU I'm using, so that I can make adjustments. This is how much stuff you can have built in a save, essentially. Max saves, 5 is generally, you can have more or less, but that's a good one. Sometimes you can even shave that down to 3, but here's the thing to keep in mind. You autosave every 5 minutes. You get a maximum of 5 backup saves. That means that you have roughly 25 minutes of, oh hell, something just happened, that where you can go back in time. So in other words, I never revert a save unless there was something that the game broke, i.e., there was, you know, a clang event, i.e., like two pistons got joined together and didn't show up, or there's a bug that causes stuff to rotate to the left, you know, kind of rotate for no apparent reason, and that happens. And generally, you catch that within 5-10 minutes. So the most you ever have to go back is 2 saves. In fact, actually, you want to keep yourself from cheating. You can just cut that down to 3. But it's one of those things to keep in mind. Is that with that many saves, that's just how far back you can go in the auto saving portion before you're just assed out and you've got to play with what you've got. Auto healing, this is generally a good setting. What it does is that basically, as long as you're in a warm, oxygenated area, your character will heal back up to 70% after being injured. It won't heal up 100%, but you will go up to at least 70. Delete respawn ship. This is if you turn this on. This will delete your respawn ship once you log out. This is particularly with servers, but the ship will stay there. But what will happen is if you select that in a local play and you grind away your respawn ship, it's gone. It's not coming back. And if you grind away your respawn ship, then you die and you don't have any med bays or anything like that, game over. Enable spectator. I usually turn this on. Makes it so that you can do spectator mode without, you can't. Show player names. A lot of these are pretty much just how you change your gameplay. In-game scripts, I always turn this on because I use scripts, tool shake, stuff like that. The animals. So drones are on, but you won't see them until you get into space. Wolves will be spawn on planets, spiders will spawn on planets. This is what you'll need a gun for. I generally leave these off because it can get very harried. You can adjust that by the animal NPC limit here, which I recommend. If you do turn those on, turn that down a lot, because otherwise you are inundated to the point of you almost tombstoning yourself with the amount of wolves and spiders you get. I don't like turning on the wolves anyways because it feels too much like shooting actual dogs, because they need to change the audio for those. It's just not good. Rest of these are pretty much like, this is the other one that's really been debatable, is enable weather system. I've been playing a full 3 hours on the save. Not once did I get hit with a rainstorm or a lightning bolt. They have changed this, they've scoped this down considerably. Now, if you go to another planet like Pertam, which is supposed to be a very painful planet, you'll get hit with a weather storm within 15-20 minutes, and you will probably be hit with lightning within under an hour. That's just the way it is. You can bitch about this, you can turn this off, but you are playing in the condition that you have chosen to play in. If you are on Pertam, which is supposed to be a hostile environment, you can't be mad because you got hit by lightning within the first hour. And by the way, if you do a start on Pertam, you have about an hour before the lightning is actually going to hit you. I've done survival starts tons of times on Pertam because I like the challenge. And I can tell you, you've got to be aware that you're going to get hit by lightning, but you're not. You've got about an hour before the game comes after you. So that's something to say in that regards. I've seen a lot of, I've watched a lot of vids of SE players, people that are experienced, and they complain about the weather, and this is like, you know, and they're talking about new player experience. The new player experience is because of the fact that they have gotten into a situation where it is a very hostile and it was expected. The only reason that they do it is either A, they were following someone who gave them instructions to go into this very intense environment with the expectation they're gonna get hit. If you don't want to have to deal with it, don't spawn there. You will get hit with lightning on Earth too, but that's going to happen in like 6 to 8 hours or more. I think I've played like 12 to 14 hours on an Earth save before I even saw lightning. But if you go to Mars, yeah, it's gonna happen within a few hours. It's definitely difficulty dependent. So anyways, back to edit settings, mods. If you go into the mods selection, so mods, this is how you add mods. Now, you'll notice there's a laundry list here, and you won't have that laundry list here. What you have to do is just go into the workshop. Now, the workshop you just get to, and I can't do it in this screen, but I can kind of do it this way. So let's go to, you go onto the Steam workshop, and where do I want? Yes. Here we go. Sneaky sounds. So this is what the workshop page looks like. So you can go into the workshop, you go to the workshop tab, search for, you can just look through the different mods. There's tons on here, you know, search, you can go by blocks and stuff like that. You see one, you can type in there sneaky sounds, and you can find that by Splitsy and that, and then you hit subscribed. When you subscribe to it, then you go into your game, then it will show up in this list, and to add it, you just put it over here. One of the other mods that I use is under O, this one, Ore Detector Plus, like I said, and hit OK, and then we're gonna load that game again. So what the Sneaky Sounds mod does is it's something more for you than me. It's to turn down the tool noise in the game so that I can turn the regular game noise back up. So go into escape options, audio, sound. I'm gonna put this back to where it is. Oops. Audio. Okay, now I go back to the game, and now you can actually hear refinery. But if I get the grinder out, it's not deafening. And then the ore detector thing, what it does is it takes, and what I feel is a reasonable change to the ore. So defaultly we're at 50. Now we can detect up to 300 on the small grid. The large grid goes up to 1200 or 1 point. So look, see, there's cobalt and gold right near here now. So I'm gonna shut this off right now. The large grid ore detector goes out to 1.2K. The thing about it is it's kind of buggy. So what happens is that you'll detect ore with that large grid one, and then you shut it off, and then the ore icons will still linger. They'll linger even when you switch planets. They'll just be continuously available. And the only way to there's two ways that I found to get rid of them. One is that you exit out of the and load the save back up. That's one way. Another way is to go in, dial down the ore detector down to about 6. Yeah, I dial it down to about 300, which is the default. Then I turn it off, turn it back on again, let it sit and adjust, and then turn it back off. And I basically cycle through that until they go away. Usually after the first cycle, they're gone, and it's fine, and it's at normal. And what I do, how I use that is because I don't use the large ore detector on planets. I only use the large ore detector, large grid ore detector in space, because essentially that's what you want. You want that long wideband detection. Another way around this is a lot of people have switched to using, there's like an ore spectrum analyzer mod. That's pretty cool too. I was hoping to get into showing drilling, but I ran kind of out of time. So, I don't know when I'll show this again. I'll have this available. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know when I'll show this, work the rest of this the way through. Tomorrow is Mars, and hopefully I should have all that squared away because there's not a whole lot I have to do for that one. But all I have to do is make sure all the OBS updates hasn't broke all the other stuff. And then next week we're back with from outer space and Mars again. Actually, no. Next weekend, not streaming at all on Sunday. Well, I might. Depends on if I get back in time. I'll be out of town that weekend, but I should be back by Sunday night. So in theory, I should be back. So next week should be normal. I might do an extra stream this week to kind of go into, because I really want to cover the drilling part of this and some basic shipbuilding and stuff like that. So I might carry this out a little bit longer. At any rate, I'm done for the night. Hopefully you are too. And like I said, I'll be streaming tomorrow, so I'll either see you then or I'll talk to you next week. Have one good one. Good night. I don't even know what to close this with. Let's do this one. No, not that one. Hold on. I got something for this. Man. Let's use this one. That one. Or not. Hold on. That. All right. See you later. Good night.